G'day there. We are back in business, baby. We are back for another behind the scenes of the Clone Wars watch through. These have been super fun. What do we think of the blur background? I don't know. We'll test it out. We'll see how it goes. But we're back for another behind the scenes. If you were with us for last week's delayed one, it's been a bit of a chaotic time, hasn't it? It was delayed, and then the Wi-Fi cut out. It was a whole thing. But we're going to finish a little bit of the end of season 2 today. We're going to do this. We're going to start off with that. And then we're going to jump into season 3. Behind the scenes of Clone Wars. And this is kind of going back to saying we've got a bunch of clips to watch through for season 3. It's going to be good. We're going to have a great time. We're going to find out some stuff we never even knew about. It's going to be amazing. I'm so glad you're here. It's a great week here on the race side. We've got a few streams coming up. We've obviously got today. We'll be here for quite a while, I feel. And then we have our Halloween special tomorrow night. We don't want to miss it. It is going to be so fun. So make sure you're here for it. It is Halloween day today here in Australia, but it's going to be Halloween for you guys tomorrow. It's going to be such a fun one. And I really hope you like my costume. It's going to be amazing. Before we go any further, who's in the chat? What is going down? Let's hear about it. Let's hear about it. Master Alyssa in the chat. Amazing. Master Julie. Master Yava. Kirsty's here. Newest Master DB as well. Robert. Rattleshark. Brady's here. Ben in the chat. This is always the best way to start the week. It is the best community. 100%. Totally agree. John's here. Angelina's back for more. Master Sin's in the chat. Chicken. Skywalker's Academy. Jason's here. So good. Am I going to be thrown again? We'll ask that. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see, shall we? Perhaps. It'll prompt me for sure. Do I actually? No. I was hoping this. It shouldn't be too bad. I've got the little lapel mic today. Maybe it's a little Hello. It shouldn't be too bad. It's probably not as good as my usual mic. That is the thing though. Dress up as Hera? Could be Hera. Maybe a little more to the side. Maybe I should put it on my necklace. Maybe that should be a thing. What if that happens? Oh, jeez. What happens then? What about that? Does that sound any different? That's so funny. Master Julie coming in with $10 dues. The Alaska Star Wars Funko Pop Queen is here. She is here. She's in the building. She's with us today. You've graced us with your presence. Thank you so much, Julie, for the big soupy to start off the night. Thank you so much. Yeah, isn't that crazy? A full day ahead. Full day. It's a surprise. Oh, I love it. I'm working on an Ellen Ripley from Alien costume. Oh, I love it. I wore it last week at a party and just needed a little more modifying. There you go. Get your costumes ready. Get them set up. Love to hear it. All right, let's get into it, shall we? Let's get into some videos. Let's get into it, shall we? Now, like I said, if you were here, let me know if you were here for that last chaotic stream. That's not what I want. What do I want? That one. This one? Why does it not look right? The last chaotic stream was hilarious. Everything went wrong. The Wi-Fi never worked. It was all over the place. It was shocking. It was a shocking time. But we're back here for more. There's literally only one more episode, one more video, I should say, of the Clone Wars we need to watch of season 2, and then we can move on to season 3. So I thought we might as well finish. Might as well finish season 2 and then get into season 3. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Oh, nice sin. Yeah, it was chaotic, wasn't it, DB? It was chaotic. Essentially, we're just going to finish. There's only one more episode of season 2, so I thought we might as well just watch this one, and then we'll jump into season 3. Hey, Lisa. Are you at the gym pumping that iron? But let's get into it. Star Wars Syndicate in the chat as well. So this video, the Holocron episodes, super interesting episodes. So we're going to jump straight back in, see what's going down. Let me know how the sound is. and we'll get into it.
Kinds of visualizations of holocrons throughout the years in other Star Wars media, but this was the first time you were going to see someone actually use a holocron on screen, and it had to count. It couldn't be a throwaway thing. I mean, a holocron is a big deal.
Guarding the holocrons is
Can
one of the
anyone
most
hear? Is there?
important
Hey,
duties
Marek.
a Jedi can be given.
You know, I thought when
Hello.
Anakin meditated,
was normal,
he
true.
made contact with a holocron, that it should do this kind of almost
I
magic.
revel in the
these
chaos
magical
organized
moments.
as boring as true. Is the sound working for everyone?
It has to look like something that only
Things that float and are blue seem to
Manufacturing?
mean something in Star Wars. You know, if it's blue and shiny, it's
Sound is good, don't worry.
probably
Okay,
something you want to pay attention to.
These were pretty saucy episodes. These were pretty good episodes, to be honest.
Since we were dealing with kind of a darkness, we have Darth Sidious, we have Cad Bane. The arc that I was trying
That
to
is
follow
good.
is mainly following the established conventions that you would see in early film noir. In film noir, you have all these Dutch angles. You want to do it just ever so slight to kind of accentuate the fact that this world is a little disorienting and evil.
It's difficult to see it, but Bane's apartment is just nasty. I mean, it's covered in graffiti, it's stained, it's just so grubby and horrible, which is exactly what it's meant to be. It's meant to be just the seediest hotel room you've ever seen. At one point in the concept art,
I
there was
forget
a
who this
chalk
guy is. I
outline
feel
of
really
the
bad.
dead
I really
Gungan
forget
on
who
the
that
floor,
is.
which didn't make it
Does
into
anyone know
the
this guy's
show,
name?
which is, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, just a pity.
Cad Bane is standing next to the window. I mean, it's like the classic detective scene. I wanted these little beams of light coming through, cars going past the window that would like throw light and a shadow into the room.
Actually, Cad Bane was smoking in our early cut.
Hey, Tim.
I think it got exchanged for a toothpick. That was definitely, a scene out of a film noir.
Keeping that nonchalant gunslinger, using the brim of his hat, just trying to conceal his eyes whenever you need to from the camera and the character. And you get up into these intimate moments where you're seeing him talk with his hands, and just you kind of just feel the shapes moving.
Sure. As long as I get paid.
He will do whatever he has to get his money, even if it means, setting up people that seem to be his friends.
I am Toto 360, Techno Service Droid.
Toto 360 is played by my friend Seth Green. I was looking for a way to get Seth involved in the Clone Wars. He's a huge fan. I'm a fan of his show, The Robot Chicken. And when we were trying to figure out, what is Toto going to sound like, I think we based it. It's kind of like Seth doing C-3PO.
That is preposterous. I have no memory of any crashes. Oh my goodness. I have no memory of any crashes.
Toto is
Such a great
design.
line.
He's-
Such a great
he's
joke there.
Different, but he fits in very well with, the other sort of droids that we've seen in the series. And he's got a lot of personality too.
You get the attitude and the character in this, in a way, inanimate object. There's no facial expression on him. There's some fun stuff with his fingers and his hands, and the kind of nervousness that you also hear in the way that Seth read the voice.
I am doomed. Babe, you have to help me.
It's that fun little cutaway in the midst of all the serious action.
Oh, hey guys.
As always with the Clone War, I don't know why. We create these characters I really like, and then we kill them.
Bomb!
Bomb? What bomb?
A phenomenon that I call show up and blow up.
Is there something going to blow up?
It's something of an achievement at this point. If you're a new character, to just make it to even the end of an episode, you're doing pretty well. I mean, people die as soon as they show up on the show, so...
Hey, Pasta
yeah,
Master.
poor Toto.
Todor. Get in
Toto
the vent.
a shape changer,
Just do
very
it.
similar to Zam
Toro,
Wesson, same
you're
species.
there, Todor.
That's
You know,
my
we
Cad
showed her
Bane
walking around in her
impression.
regular form.
Talking
So
to
you get
Toto.
the kind of ugly head with the big bug eyes. She's got this awesome helmet. Killian Plunkett designed her, and I was like, let's give her a helmet, because I knew that if we put a helmet on that head with the big eyes, it would have to look kind of weird, and it's awesome. It looks like a bug.
That is cool.
But
That
the
is so
hard
cool.
thing about it is the clothing. What are you going to do about the clothing?
We sort of had to justify how the model that
Cad
we
Bane
had
is on the
of
red.
Cato Parasiti that's wearing this suit could morph into Ort Edison's, and suddenly her clothes were totally different as well. The justification we came up with was that the suit is actually a hollow projector, and that
Yeah,
the
we're all vibing.
antennae are
Yeah.
in some way sort of
Anti-animated series. Yeah, it'd be
morphing
cool.
the clothes, kind of, sort of.
So you'll notice when
Thank you,
Vader's
Pastor Master.
transformed
Appreciate
into
it.
Order Innocence or Jocasta Nu, there is sometimes a flicker, much like you see in a regular hologram transmission. And that is representing the fluctuation in the costume. Her clothes actually have not changed at all. You just don't realize it.
Kind of
Let's
Doom.
make
What's
this a
that?
bit more interesting.
Editing, editing, editing is the key.
It was a very hard scene to cut. I remember not only did we have my version and Rob's version and then Dave's version and then George's
Me
version.
too, Max.
and then Dave's version
I
again,
haven't
and then George's
goes back to the
version,
bounty stuff.
version again.
That's
It
when
did go
Mando
on
worked
for a long
best.
time. And it was all about making it clear to the audience that if a bullet was to strike one of these tanks, that it spelled doom for everybody.
Check your fire!
It's problematic in the sense of you want to dramatically emphasize this situation, while at the same time you want to kind of engage everybody in the actual fight as well. Another thing that was hard is whenever they land. There's one way of doing it, which is you go to a wide shot and you see all these guys fall, but that's really not as fun. You kind of want to show somebody fall and then a bunch of people over here fall, and you have to do that really quick because it's all real time, but you can stretch it out to, you know, for emphasis, for emotional impact.
When Anakin approaches the door,
Sir, a Jedi is coming. He looks very unhappy.
I mean, he's angry. He's intense.
looks very
he's willing to
unhappy.
kill everybody in that room to save his Padawan.
You have nowhere left to run, bounty hunter.
In ways, like we're seeing this darker side of Anakin, and in a very real illustration of why Jedi should not have attachments, we see that attachment issue get exploited before our very eyes. You know,
That's
we
so
see this
true.
compassion
It is so
Anakin has
true.
for her, that
This
he
was a
puts
great
the
moment in
lightsaber down
that
and he opens
episode.
up this holocron. That's a big moment. I really thought actually when Ahsoka feels bad, it's really well portrayed.
No, Master! Don't do it!
You hear the anguish in her voice.
Master, no!
For the first time, you really start to, at least for me in the animation, see who Ahsoka is as a person, especially when you see her in front of the Jedi Council and she's very apologetic and somber. You see that uncomfortableness in her, the emotion. It connects her a little bit more to the audience.
I think you really get that they are by now a team, that they care about each other. There's a level of respect that we weren't seeing before.
I can't let Bane get away.
Patience! Master.
You see that kind of maturity that Ahsoka Tano has not had in the past.
It's what made 1 and 2 the best. It definitely did.
The first time I read the script for Children of the Force, the first thing I asked was, why isn't this 2 episodes? Because there's just so much going on. We're jumping to so many different planets, and there's so many different characters. I just wondered how it was all going to somehow fit together.
We know you've taken at least 2 children. Where are they?
Children of the Force is the episode where they have their boy band moment and all sort of reach out their hands at the same time to try and use a mind trick.
Boy band moment.
The key to the whole thing in the end was the sound design.
You will take us to the holocron.
We have a lot of ghostly voices that sort of drift through the scene and in the surrounds.
You will take us to the holocron.
The Jedi's voices
Wow,
also sort of
that's
echo
cool.
and respond.
And you will take us now. Get out of my head!
There's a screaming cacophony that's building throughout the scene, kind of like Cad's psyche crying out for them to stop.
Probably could have kept going and said who hired him, but then there probably wouldn't be an episode 3, so yeah, maybe that's
true.
for the best.
So true. Hey, Diamond. Hey, man.
Children of the Force. It's also
Oh, it's
one of the
100%.
first
It's so good.
episodes that had a good
It's
deal
so
of
good.
involvement
Dave
with
looks so
Boll
young as
Arn,
well.
there's a
It's so
ton of
funny.
effects that wouldn't have been
Thank you for the
there
$2
earlier.
dues.
First thing it fell on my
Appreciate ya.
plate was Mustafar.
Roddy, baby.
I'm like,
He looks so good, man.
oh, we're doing lava. Obviously, online we have the original Star Wars movies here for us to use as reference. So I would always pull up that sequence of the movie and sample the color from that, and that would be my high. So the 4 cards that I had painted, all the color palettes are done from those originals. I tried not to copy directly. I tried really to put my own paint strokes in to make it look real. It's like painting the house with the original paint that came with your house. It's like, it's going to feel good to use these elements. So I basically just would lay all those cards on top of each other with a little bit of opacity in between each of the cards, and they just rotate and move. And then just take a pre-rendered element of just smoke going by and color it red, add a little bit of heat ripple to it, and you put it all together, you've got lava.
The effects have to act
Wow.
like the
This
real
guy's a
effect
genius,
would,
man.
but it has to look the way the show looks.
We're constantly going back and forth between photorealism what that looks like, and then how someone would draw, fire, or how they would draw smoke, draw water.
It's a maddening thing to work on water. What may look good on one frame doesn't look good in motion. But if you approach it from the standpoint of you're going to paint it, let's paint it to look good, but then just make our painting look like water. Filoni and I went to the library, pulled every 1800s NC Wyeth books, and I just went through and just put as many prints as
It's
possible
crazy how
on
much
the
detail
wall
is in
of
every single
water.
episode. Like the episode is
And so
freaking
what came
20
out of that
minutes,
was
22
look
minutes, and there's so much
that
detail.
Is this NC Wyeth style?
I love how we're all loving this
of
idea
just
for
shapes?
a bounty hunter
But it
series.
was the
It's cool.
waterfall that
Sin coming
really
in, gifting
came into
5
its own.
memberships. Thank you,
So Connor, the
Stan. Thank
artist
you for
working
sharing
on
the
it,
love.
basically
Appreciate you.
painted streaks, and then the material that we use to apply that paint to
Nuts,
this
eh?
geometry, it's just a flat card. We just have it kind of look like it's melting wax. Now when you watch it, you just kind of believe waterfall.
Wow. Nuts, man.
Really, what we have in these 3
Nuts.
episodes, when you look at it, was step to the side of the massive Clone War, and we're dealing very specifically with things that involve the Jedi and the Sith, for that matter, and Darth Sidious's role.
Among the children of the Jedi, there are no innocents.
We have to keep him a presence in the Clone Wars.
Loving the love for Sid in
Because
the
in
chat.
the end,
So good.
all these
What a
things
legend.
that the Jedi hold dear, holocrons, their younglings, Padawans, Jedi Knights, they'll all be destroyed because of the cunning evil of Darth Sidious.
Ooh, boom. Sick. Cool. And that was the last one of season 2. Return to Geonosis? Yeah, we did this one. Freaking Kiati Mundi was in it.
Beyond this door
That's
lies
why
the
I
Holocron
remember
Vault.
it. Freaking Kiati. But anyway, there's season 2. Okay, now I feel resolved now. That was season 2. We're happy days. Now we can start season 3. But let's jump straight into it. There's like a billion videos in here. So we'll get straight into it. Actually, did we watch this one? Did we watch this? Attack at the Zillow Beast one? Did we do this?
General, there's something down here with us. It's not Seppies.
The
Don't.
Zillow Beast and the Zillow
Don't.
Beast strikes back.
Did we watch? I felt like we never watched this
bizarre
one.
story meetings I've ever had with George. We go in there to get these ideas, and George was doing a lot of
Let's
genre
watch this
pictures
anyway.
in
We're here.
season
We're
2.
here.
We
Strap
had-
in for a
we had
long
the Body
night.
Snatchers episode. We had the Zombies episode. We had the Murder Mysteries. And out of
Tales
nowhere,
from Jabba's
it
Palace
hits me
Animated
with,
Series.
let's
Yes!
face
I would
it,
watch that.
it's Godzilla.
The Zillow.
You know, I've talked about Godzilla every now and then. I have a big Godzilla poster in my office. I used to watch the original
100%
Godzilla
Joey.
every Thanksgiving at my grandparents' house. I did a research paper where I used him as a Jungian archetype of social unconsciousness. So I'm thinking, on one hand, I'm thinking cool, and on the other, I'm thinking this is the production nightmare.
We're gonna be here for like 3 hours. I
The
reckon.
master-
This is gonna be a 3
he'll
hour
pitch
stream. I
out
can already
these
feel it.
ideas, these
You got
absolute
time. I
grand
hope you got
visions.
time.
And when
got
he
time.
does it, you certainly don't have the feeling that he's throwing it out there to see if you can do it. He's basically throwing it out there, expecting you to figure out how to do it. You know, and the analogy is not unlike jumping off a cliff and trying to figure out what we're going to do before we land.
There's many things to consider when you're doing a Godzilla movie. Basically, you're doing something else and you blow something up. You drop
Hey,
a bomb,
Subby.
you cause a
How you
rip.
doing?
You basically mess with nature.
What does it take to be a mod? You gotta
And
be here
then,
for a long
boom,
time.
something else happens.
Long,
which
long
adds a
time.
little bit of
My
mystery.
current mods have been here
Like,
for like
wow, look at this giant
I don't know,
chasm.
a long
I
time.
hope there is not something
They
worse.
prove
inside there.
themselves. They prove themselves.
I have a bad feeling about this.
They do the same story as the Fine and reference goes to the Bad Batch. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. A terrifyingly giant monster. Then there's a monster, and these people want you to destroy the monster. Other people don't want you to destroy the monster. These are the beats. This is how it goes.
Mm.
Because of my respect and appreciation for Godzilla, I really didn't want to go
pretty well.
anywhere near
Well,
Godzilla.
it's not full on
as
at the
far as
moment, to be
look
honest.
was concerned.
There's like
This is pretty
another.
much,
Okay, it's just got
the
3
pose
hour.
sketch
Yeah.
that Dave
Just
gave me.
keep cranking that.
I just flush it out.
Stay on that
put stars on it, put
treadmill,
spikes
eh?
on it.
Just
As I was
do
doing my research,
like
I was
300
looking
bicep
pictures of
pills.
lizards
Don't.
and earthworms. Try to see how I could recombine all those things and to create this creature to match
Yeah.
the feeling that we wanted of it being kind of worm-like. So the appendages have kind of no bones in them, which is why they can move in any direction wrapping around. building, there's no problem for it because it could just move the fingers both ways. Even the separate little spikes on the tail can move different directions. Just a lot of repeatable shapes.
There were concept paintings
Let's
done
take a
by
look.
Randy
Numbers and
Bantal and
Warpop.
Tiny
Oh, that's cool.
that sort of show
That is a good
Anakin
roll.
running up the side of
Roll.
effectively a
Roll.
building. This thing was so big that if you were running on the arm, the head would be so far away that it could practically be a painting.
So we had designs where we have our normal texture like we usually see on our designs, which would hold up normally. But then to put him next to a clone, we needed to design the Zillow to hold up at different resolutions.
Wow.
We knew that we would have to go in and do higher detail.
There are shots where Yoda and Ayla are actually jumping right across its eye. You get pretty much 2 feet away from this thing, and it all had to hold up when it was very close to camera.
It's so cool.
Janik, who modeled the Zillow
Throw out plank.
went in
Yeah,
and
do
did,
it. Let's do it.
we call normal maps. You can kind of see with the difference. Without a normal map, this is how it would hold up regularly. But if we add our normal maps instantly, this level of detail. So when we actually see the Zillow up close
And it
in
was
these
just that was
shots,
the
when
one who
Mace and
really? There you
Anakin
go.
are
Yeah.
against his eye, you can see every little crack and every little detail in the Zillow.
This was sort of
Yes!
like all of the challenges that
Go
would
knock
come
on
with
Tim's
Jedi
door for
Cruiser
us, Subla.
and a new creature and a new character and a landscape
Yes, it's working.
rolled into one
It's working
as it
now.
moved through other landscapes covered in effects. From the get-go, this was always going to be one of the toughest storylines to pull off.
The latest task by Dave and George was to create a giant 50s monster movie caliber creature sound. I went with the classic air
That's gonna be
horn,
good.
pitched way down and processed.
horn.
So we have this. We used a couple different horse pieces, added in a pitched down walrus. And you combine that with a little bobcat growl. And you get a really upset Zillow Beast.
No way. So
The
what?
Zillow
So what was
Beast
that?
is
Well,
discovered on the planet.
so air horn, horse, walrus, and bobcat. That's the sound of a Zillow Beast. That is nuts. That is so cool.
Malastare. Malastare is where the Dugs are from, which is the race that Sebulba is a member of.
Some guys are weird. They're the weirdest guys, aren't they?
All of the Dugs were
But they're
designed
great.
in a similar sort of approach that we had taken to the Weequay Pirates in season 1, where you sort of design 1 or 2 basic bodies and then you dress them with different sort of layers of armor or different paint schemes. The only one that had an original one-off face was the King.
So this would be an example of taking an existing design and fitting it for our show and seeing how much detail you can knock off of it to make it more simplified. If you remember Sebulba from episode 1, this guy right here, the mouth is pretty round and there's a lot of bumps leading towards the lips as well as on the nose. So I took away all of that stuff and made it a nice squared to be more graphic and more simplified and easier to read.
Sebulba was a CG creature who had a lot more fidelity in a live action film. So how do we keep it graphic and stylized, but still have that weight? He's walking on his hands more or less anatomically. So once that hand plants, seeing that
No
shoulder
way.
push
Holy
up
shit,
was
that's
going to be
such
like
a
one
cool
of the more
fact,
important
man.
things to sell.
That is so cool, Sub.
A lot of the times when they're standing and gesturing through their dialogue, you want to see that weight shift, like you would if someone's just readjusting their feet and turning to speak. They're doing it with their hands. So seeing moving over and then, what are you talking about?
You want us to sign your treaty, then you must help us destroy the beast.
We cannot allow the destruction of an innocent life form.
They come up with this way of, well, all right, well, we're not going to kill it, but we're going to deceive the Dugs into thinking we killed it, and then we'll transport it out of here.
Dugs would never know the difference.
You're so moral, you're doing some things that are a little immoral. I think it shows really more of where the Jedi are at in terms of the whole conflict in the war. The
that's a
moral
good point.
ground that they held so firm to is changing.
That may be the only way we shall get this treaty signed. And rest Master Windu's conscience.
Unfortunately, I have to subdue the Zillow Beast really fast. We have these tanks that are like electric shooting tanks.
Fire!
They're the most convenient to show up things we've ever had in the Clone Wars because they're just like giant monster tanks from Godzilla called Maser tanks. That's what they're based on. And I found it funny that, of course they had these things. You've never seen them before, but now we have them just in time to fight a giant monster. They are in Attack of the Clones. They just look a little different, and I've been redesigned to look a little more Godzilla-like for our purposes.
I came up with a couple of different versions initially, but we ended up actually combining this turret with this body. And Dave wanted this artwork for the driver's cab, which, you know, it's like nose art on an aircraft.
It's a little Zillow Beast getting shocked. And everyone's like, why would they have that on there already? I was like, because they had a Sharpie and they drew it on their tank. I was like, come on. What do you think these guys are doing up until... Everybody's so serious all the time.
Oh, I love him. I love
I've had a fun
him.
time with the clones lately, pointing out the absurdity of some of the Jedi tactics.
Whose bright idea was this anyway?
Evidently, those two have watched a lot of Godzilla movies. They know this is a bad strategy. Every time these monsters show up, you make us go out there with the tanks. It never works.
That's cool.
Why are we doing
Maybe we should watch
in
those
part
next.
2 also, I thought was hilarious. Stu staged these poor clones down on the bottom of the ramp and outside the hangar. They've got rifles.
If that creature's as powerful as they say, what good are these rifles gonna be?
Oops. Too bad. I guess you shouldn't have been standing in front of the giant doors with the monster on the other side. But
Oh my god, he's such a
even in
jokester.
the clone army, I say.
The beast has been loaded
That's
onto
nuts.
the transport. Have you selected a planet for relocation?
There has been a slight change of plans.
When George pitched this idea of doing this giant monster, we all thought one thing in common. We all thought, wow, I'm so glad this isn't on Coruscant. That would be really hard. And we probably can't do that. And George says, yeah, so at the end of this, they're going to take it on a ship back to Coruscant, like King Kong. And I was just like,
Of course. You
Kiadi,
take the beast
really?
to Coruscant. Why? Well, because that's the best place to take it.
I'm watching you,
The Zillow
Kiadi.
Beast originally would have not fit inside a Jedi cruiser, but once it got scaled down, it actually fits inside the assault ship, which means it's probably about 20 stories high. Smaller than it used to be, but still giant. The staging area that you see in episode 3, where the Jedi cruisers sort of get ready to take off, it's where Anakin and Obi-Wan have their last conversation as friends before Anakin takes off for Mustafar, was where the Zillow Beast first arrives in Coruscant. There's
I didn't
a
know that. That's
piece
cool.
of
It's a
sort
cool
of lab
fact.
geometry that's built.
Ah.
It's a Randy Bantok design. It's based very much on a sort of Zeppelin airship hangar.
I had those based on a hangar not far from here down towards San Jose. I love basing stuff on a reality like that. And, you know, it's always my thought that, you know, you got a kid driving somewhere on a family trip or whatnot, and he looks out the window and, you know, he thinks, oh, it's a Zillow Beast hangar, you know.
They bring the Zillow Beast into this lab. They hook it up to this sort of restraint system and a bunch of girders, because that's, you know, you have to do that. It's a giant monster film. And because it is another one of those sort of tried and true monster movie formulas, there's a well-meaning scientist. It's always odd that the well-meaning scientist
How?
doesn't
Literally
seem to
how?
be doing anything to end world
traffic
hunger
cone?
or, you know, find a cure for the common cold. In all these movies, a well-meaning scientist is always working
I
on a
would
death
never.
ray or
It
a
would
killer
never
robot or
become
something.
Kiadi.
But they're well-meaning.
My life.
Dr. Boll was a design by Randy Bantok as well. She looks somewhat similar to Nadar Veb, the
You
Monko
couldn't
Mario
pay
from
me,
Leia
Sin. You
Grievous,
couldn't pay me
but
to
she's
do
not
that.
the same species.
I
They
would
just
never.
have similar coloration and sort of big yellow eyes.
Design wise, when the eyes are very separate from, you know, any sense of brow or the mouth, it's hard to keep that personality unified, because a lot of who we are is acting through the eyes. Dr. Boll is the scientist, and even in the read, it's very analytical. It's almost like a robot. It's like, yes, yes, master, I will do this. And blah, 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 blah.
Its scales are remarkably strong and light. If we could examine their composition, we might be able to synthesize
That's so
them to
good.
reinforce our clone armor.
I told the animators and I wanted them to concentrate on, like, okay, when is that moment where we first see the feelings underneath kind of break through?
Well
Shoulders
groomed.
just subtly relax, and she might just start to blink a little bit more and look down and gather her thoughts
Look at that
before
beard.
delivering her line. It's not always like, you know, point A, point B, I've got to do this.
Jordan,
It's, oh,
What your
really?
How dare you? Don't
Okay,
don't
sure.
I believe it's
disrespect
now
my
strong enough
name
to kill
with
the
that.
Zillow Beast. If Still how you wish
Don't
to
disrespect me
What sort of
like
makes
that.
this work is that the Zillow Beast is not completely unintelligent. It's not just a giant rampaging monster. It has an agenda.
I find that hard to believe.
It has an agenda. See, everyone's got an agenda. Zillow Beast has an
Didn't
agenda.
seem to like your comment.
Seeing just the eye of the Zillow and echoing that, you know, he does.
Oh
actually
no, no.
Exactly what the Zillow Beast is planning to do once it finds Palpatine. I'm not sure if it's revenge or if he's just going to eat him.
Trap the monster, you have him chained up. Something antagonizes the monster. Bang, it breaks loose. Oh my gosh.
No, it should have been enough.
Zillow Beast, loose on Coruscant. Monsters, people are running
My
around.
agenda is the same as the
Crazy
Zillow
hysteria
Beast.
going on. He
That's my
sees
agenda.
Palpatine, follows
Whatever the
Palpatine
Zillow
to
Beast's
the Senate,
agenda is.
catches the plane before it takes off. I mean, a giant monster in the Star Wars universe isn't that absurd, I have to say.
Clunky cast.
You've
Hey
got
man, how you
Rancors
doing?
running around and, you know, AOWAs and all kinds of different creatures. Is a Zillow Beast really? Wow, I've never seen something. Probably not on Coruscant.
Once the Zillow Beast actually starts breaking things, there's a couple of new buildings that were built just for that sort of sequence of destruction.
What about the
There's
Ray
a
attack
few
on the
shots from the
Wookiees?
inside of the new apartment building where people seem to be having a
Yeah,
business
imagine,
meeting.
imagine.
The Beast's head sort of comes into frame and they all panic and run away. But probably most noticeably the Senate Dome, which we've seen from the very beginning in the series, but in this instance, we were going to be right down on the surface of the dome. So that involved building a newer, much more detailed, higher res section of that dome.
I'm very pleased that when you're looking at Coruscant in the shots, you feel like it is that city you see in the movies. You see the Zillow Beast running through. And when he dies at the end, I think it's appropriately sad.
Appropriately sad. I love that.
You see this huge hulking creature, and how do you build up empathy for it? So when you finally do see it getting hit and he finally falls down to his death, just some great weight through those shots.
Did Sublight
but
just
also
marry
he just kind
Kiadi
of
Mundi?
rears up and you see his eye roll up behind him, and in a way you can connect to him a little bit more, seeing that the pain is being inflicted on him, and it could have been done a different way, I guess.
That's another sort of classic monster movie thing where people walk around the head of the giant thing once it's on the ground and sort of go, oh, what have we done? Well, you killed it, because you always kill it because it's a monster film.
I choose to believe that the Zillow Beast is not dead, especially if Palpatine wants to replicate it.
You want me to clone the beast?
We haven't got to that yet. I don't know if we'll ever get to that.
But
Oh,
you never say never.
isn't that crazy? That
Maybe it's season 7.
that's so
He'll
funny.
be a Jedi by then.
That's so funny. I know you got you you got to keep guessing. Keep guessing. Okay, what's this? Okay, we're in season 3 now. All right, this is season 3. Well, let's keep going with this because let's keep rolling. Thanks, Kiadi.
We
It's
knew
the
we
one
had to
nice
do
thing
Camino.
you've
George
said.
wanted to do
It's the one nice thing
And
you've
that's
finally
usually the
said
best
to
way
me.
to conquer something is just go straight at it and say, well, we're going to do it somehow.
The clone planet of Camino will
Oh man, see you tomorrow. See you in the next
do it in a
stream.
Clone Wars way, but be reminiscent of reality, and it's a constant challenge. And but that's what Star Wars should be. You know, we shouldn't just be doing what we've seen before. You know, Trident drill ships rise out of the water and attack the Camino facility while clones are desperate to save their home. You know, that's worth doing. Absolutely.
It was a lucky break for us that so much strong work was already completed during the art phase of episode 2. There were a lot of designs that were proposed and worked up that
Hey
didn't
Jess,
make it into the
how you
final
doing?
film, and we could
Cranking
just
out
sort
that
of build on
content for
that.
FNAF. So
We had
good.
all the
Hope
access
you're doing
to
well.
a lot of really good,
Riding that
interesting
high.
designs for things like barracks or alternate takes on the clone breeding facility itself. George had very specific ideas about what Camino and vehicles would look like. He felt that they needed to be extremely sleek, lots of sort of round spheres and very futuristic shapes. Everything needed to be hyper clean and either white or chrome or silver. Very much that sort of classic sterile, everything looked like a flying test tube. It really is like a giant lab.
I think I've done countless interviews with fans and media where I've said water, not a friend to the Clone Wars. Very difficult to do. Well, now we don't even think twice about it.
We had to develop a way that was really straightforward for the artist to use. And that meant not doing a fluid sim, not doing a simulation. We painted this big texture and we just put it on a card, just add a little bit of noise to the card to actually get it to look like an ocean. And then we went into the library of practical elements that were shot for Attack of the Clones. Luckily, the elements that we had there were very dynamic. So all we had to do was just slow them down. You have your little lumpy carpet, and then right in front of camera, you just put a little bit of a 2D element of mist blowing by. And if it's raining, you put a rain element that was just put it right in front of camera, and it works.
Aquadroids were almost designed on the spot by Dave Filoni in a meeting with George. Dave had a pen and paper with him, and they sort of batted ideas back and forth. They were designed to be more effective in water. They're a little bit ungainly when they're
It's not. But it sounds like I'm hiding something, but it's not.
They still work, but they're much more effective when they're underwater. They're very clearly different.
Point, actually, Jason. Can camels swim? Can they go in the water?
And colors that are familiar because you could tell these are separatist machines, but they don't look just like another battle droid. They're very unique.
The ARC Trooper, it looks different than an ARC Trooper that you know from Revenge of the Sith. This was for many reasons, and I will credit my friends in the 501st. They make these unbelievable replicas of clone costumes. I mean, just down to every little tiny detail. One of the things these guys were saying to me is, Dave, I really hope you don't change over to the Type 3 armor anytime soon, because we just finished making this Type 2 armor, and I know back at work we've already got the Type 3 armor gearing up. So I thought, well, let's make the ARC Troopers kind of a in-between prototype. That also made sense from a story standpoint, because this is very early in the war story.
Dave had us, try to combine a lot
true.
of different things.
We're never going to be
T-visor
in the same room.
that is in our original clones, and then also the Stormtrooper goggle shapes mixed together.
Will I be
in episode 3 helmet? So this is basically an episode 3 clone helmet, except we kept the fin.
That's really interesting. I never actually noticed that about the.
They kind of look like the Nautilus from 20,000 Leagues, if it were a squid. That's kind of what these droids kind of remind me of.
That's a good point.
And when they're underwater, we kind of have this sort of submarine type ambience in there. There's sort of a faint hint of that sort of underwater deadness. There's also kind of a radar ping. The ship itself then kind of becomes this droid, like we kind of do with a lot of the droids that don't actually speak.
Yes,
you want to give them a voice. That's the instinct that we always have with these things. We want to
these guesses are so good, guys. You are gonna love it tomorrow. I hope. I don't know.
Generally,
I hope it holds up.
Angry about something. So it's got a high-pitched squeal, sort of a roar that happens when it's about ready to drill into puncture the side of the Camino building. So that was sort of our little signature element to the squid droid.
Anakin, the city is under attack. I need you down here now.
On my way.
That's right. There's a whole space battle with this as well.
Launch, he made sure to tell me that he wanted the space battle to be huge, epic, and bigger than anything we'd ever done before.
I said, Kyle, we really need to have a good space battle here. This is the defense of a major military operation for the Republic.
I don't know. I feel like you can pull off it. I don't know.
The poor guy, he showed me these early shots of, the battle he was thinking. And I remember saying to him, I said, Kyle, you do plan on having spaceships in my spaceship battle, don't you?
And
I
so
would never do
we're back
something
and
so
basically
disrespectful
doubled
to
the amount of
my
ships in every
being.
shot. And I think even after that, he was
Yeah,
like, yeah,
so
but
true.
more, but even more lasers, more explosions.
I was like, well, look at the movies. I mean, there's stuff everywhere. We need that feeling that there's ships
Do
just
you know
everywhere.
what
Also
underrated
great.
are?
So
I haven't
if
watched
you go
this
look at Return
arc
of
in
the
so
Jedi
long,
when
to
the
be honest.
Falcon's chasing the TIE fighters around the medical frigate. Go look at that stuff and pay attention to the way the cameras tilt.
You know, we go back and we watch them over and over and over again.
Lightning!
Every time I watch them, I get a new sense of appreciation for them.
You know, the next time I saw Space Battle, it was just brilliant.
Twinkly bits.
As my effects team will know, my favorite word is layers. The embryo tower that collapses is one of my favorite examples for that. If you roll back and look at that slowly, it's just a few layers. I've got these explosions of things falling, and then I have another layer of this like cloudy dust. And then I have, instead of the shattering of the glass, let's just have a bunch of twinkly bits falling down. I'm a huge fan of twinkly bits. And so it's just adding in these layers to make what is a simple explosion look more
See, I love that. You guys are always like, oh, sorry, I'm just landed on the moon, but I thought I'd pop in and say hi. I love it. You guys are so committed.
The droids have
Thank
been
you so
pushed
much,
back to
Lightning.
the
Hope
main
you're doing
hangar.
well. Enjoy the concert.
Shakti
All
owns
right, we'll
her
get to
costumes
it,
down at
Sin.
the archives,
Being
so we got
crazy,
to make her
dude.
trip down and find out,
We'll get to
you
it.
know, the questions that fans have been begging to have answered. Like, Shakti is not barefoot. That's another one of those debates because she's appeared with no shoes.
Actually, that's
before,
true.
But
Who's-
if
who
you're
you
going to be
seeing, Lightning?
screen accurate, she actually is wearing pretty giant go-go boots. She was also one of the first in the show to get a full Jedi robe with sleeves, which is a big deal. You know, we had compromised with Barasofi and made her cape, rather than the floor-length cape that you would see in the movie, we'd sort of cut it down to a half-length. But when it came to Shakti, it just didn't look right. You know, it would be similar to cutting Darth Vader's cape in half. It's just, it's going to look like something, but it's not going to look like Darth Vader. Cloth simulation is not something that technically is hard to do, but it takes a lot of time to set up, and if it takes time, that means it costs money. I think it was all worth it. You go, well, that's the Clone Wars version of Shakti.
A Jedi does not feel concern, Lamasu. However, I have noticed this unit of clones have been
deficient.
Hugo!
Oh my god,
Hugo!
Sin.
Yeah,
100%
more
CG.
blasted!
I don't know who that is, but that's a
Domino
great
Squad
name.
is a special group of clones. They are thought to be defective, actually. They all have their sort of idiosyncrasies. One of them repeats every order.
Comlink, just relayed orders from...
We all heard the orders, Echo!
Stop calling me that!
One of them is overly aggressive. It's heavy.
CG-782, you're breaking formation! Just follow my lead, will ya?
CG!
Fives, Echo survived the longest. They end up in several other episodes.
Thanks, CT-275555. That was close.
It's Fives. The name is Fives.
Cut up, he's got a dry sense of humor.
It's all a big joke to you, right? Like those little nicknames you and your clone brothers give each other?
Oh, I could take one for you.
Hey, Lightning, enjoy the show, man.
Clones in Clone Wars are effectively the same model over and over again, and most of the heavy lifting for the character has to come through the animation or D. Bradley Baker's voice work.
Keep it up. We're doing great.
We might actually pass.
Dave was pretty adamant that you could see the clones' faces during the training sequence. He felt it was important that you didn't just see helmets because it would be even harder to read what was going on, you know, emotionally with them. And also that the idea of padded, more like training leather armor than fully kitted out hard surface steel or plastic was something he was very interested in. He felt it helped sell the idea that this wasn't combat yet. This was all just maneuvers to get ready to become an actual clone.
Besides being reintroduced to Heavy Echo 5's droid bait cut-up, we meet 99.
This bad Bachelor 99 has more sense than you guys do, and he's a maintenance clone.
I really wanted you to
Don't be mean to around
connect with
99.
the character of 99.
Don't!
I wanted you to feel how much he wanted so badly to be just like everybody else.
I'm a soldier, like you.
When really his greatest
Oh.
asset was that because he wasn't like these soldiers, he could see things more clearly than the clones of the Domino Squad. While 99 would have had physical limitations that we aren't familiar with
Thank you, Sin.
in the other clones,
$5
he
justice
does
for
not
Spies and
have
99
any
true
mental
heroes of the
limitations.
Republic.
Quite the contrary. It's almost like 99 had the ability to look at the Domino Squad and see who they really are.
You can't do this to your squad.
Oh,
Squad.
God, it hurts.
Bad batch. Failures. Like you.
And it's really those moments when directing the episode between Heavy and 99 that really, to me, make the whole episode work, because this is where we see that heartfelt, why are you trying to do things on your own, Heavy, and Heavy gets upset.
Heavy? Stop calling me that.
You know, we don't have names, we're just numbers, 99.
Just numbers.
D. Baker, I thought, played it so well when 99 says,
Not to me. To me, you've always had a name.
Oh, I'm gonna cry. It's so good. It's so good.
People just really
Oh.
enjoy looking at clones in general.
Love
and what
99.
clone training and life is like. It's one of those ones where if you're a fan of clones, then obviously these are 2 episodes you're probably going to watch over and over.
Oh, it's so good. 2011, eh? Crazy. 99, 517. It's
When
so
I got
good.
the script initially, I was
Ah,
expecting
into the next one.
giant
What's this?
battle, lightsaber fights, something horrible to
Hunt
happen.
in the Underworld.
And what I got was these 2 droids sent out to the
Oh my
marketplace
God!
to get
Master
a food
Yava jumping in.
Okay, 3PO.
5 gifted
I'm sending you on a
memberships.
mission.
Bloody love it.
Mine.
Thank you so much, Yava. Sharing the race I
The cake
love.
was designed,
Appreciate
it
it.
was approved.
Oh my God! This is like the best
it was a very
episode.
simple sort of round layer cake. It had a nice blue icing on it. It worked fine. I mean, it looked like a cake.
I just see this prop of this cake, and I'm like, guys, that's not good enough.
For a while in production, that cake and that Yogan fruit jar and the Yogan fruit were what this episode was all about.
It is true. I did make
Long
the
live
production
99.
stop. I did make them remodel that cake.
That's
and I
amazing.
did demand a higher quality cake for Padme's banquet. Maybe that
I
seems nuts
love
to the
it.
viewers too. But what it should tell you is that there is no detail too small.
Even
that we
Master
will not
Elisa coming in
try to
gifting the
make better.
stuff. Oh my
At the
God.
end of the day, you were swapping
I
something
love
that looked
it.
like a cake
I love
for
it.
something else that looks like a cake.
3PO, is there a problem?
Hey, Sophia. I miss coming gossiping about Ahsoka. Yeah. I mean, come gossip anyway. Might not be about Ahsoka, we can gossip about anything. You guys are legends.
Going back into Coruscant this time around, in doing this street market, I thought I want all stalls to have kind of steam.
Sharing the love in the chat. You guys are so
There's
nice.
just steam everywhere. There's steam coming from buildings for no reason. There's light leaking in from the cracks in the buildings to light up little pools of sunlight as R2 and 3PO are walking through that area. They're all lit, even though
It's a
during
great
the day,
episode.
the
Don't
stalls may be in shadow.
sleep
and I
on this
want them to be lit
episode.
by like a bare light bulb.
Do you by any chance have Jogan fruit?
There's everyday life that needs to happen on Coruscant, and we've never really seen that. So it was
You
exciting
did I'm 99.
to visualize that, to bring that to life.
So
to
nice,
have an
Elisa.
opportunity to expand that world a little bit more.
How much you got, my friend?
R2, make sure
Yes. Do you want it? I would actually
What
do
you
that for
got was
you.
a much more street
100%.
vendor, ruffian kind of area in the upper levels of Coruscant Underworld, where I think the streets felt dirtier. It kind of felt like an outdoor farmer's market.
So then immediately I knew that that's our grid. Okay, I can build on that. But now we need this contrast of the droid spa.
Hello,
I love
and
the Droid
welcome
Spa.
to Droid Spa. Please.
I always thought this spa little freaky.
It was very
you
sort
know?
of consciously the front
Weird.
end is like sort of upscale hotel where there's this reception
Get a
desk.
frame for the wall.
It had
Yeah.
to have that
We
sort
can
of
do that.
air of a relaxing, pleasant place to be. This isn't purely just a workshop. It's got some sense of decor and sort of style, if you like.
And so I came up with a list of funny things that could happen to the droids. So here we have the conveyor belt, and then they get the pre-cleaning, and then then they get dropped into the oil. And then we move the droids back up, they get the oil sucked off of them, and they go into the buffing area.
It's pretty sweet. It's a fun place, and that was really the idea. Was that this was, if you were a droid, this would be pretty much your favorite place to go ever.
It doesn't get more soothing than that, does it?
You know what I mean? It's just sus. It's a little sus. God.
I wanted to intercut the droid spa scene with 3PO being tortured because I thought it was funny how R2 was having this great experience, being pampered, and 3PO is just the opposite.
Why are you putting that there?
To find out what's inside.
Also, in that sequence with 3PO being tortured, is we have this droid 8D8. He was called in Return of the Jedi. He's the droid that
old
the
mate.
torture devices down when 3PO and R2 are in the bowels of Jabba's palace, and we put that droid in this scene torturing 3PO. And Corey Burton played the voice, and I told him to play it as kind of a robotic, dispassionate
too.
kill.
According
got more
to
of
the
that.
analyzer, he is not lying. His head's totally empty of any information useful to us.
And this was one of the first episodes where I wanted to stray away from how we were doing electricity before for shocking. I really wanted to start to get a little bit more stylized with it. The effects team came up with a really good way to use a toon shader to just get this kind of wiggly, staticky line around the characters and make it look painful. I thought it'd be really great.
Why
after
rub
you're
a
shocking,
droid like
you see a
that?
little bit
Right.
of smoke coming out
Like the
from
droid can't feel
his
anything. Why
little
rub a
neck area,
droid?
which worked really well.
Just as we had to make the scenes with R2 incredibly fun and light, the scenes with 3PO had to be really, really dark and horrible. And they had to make me uncomfortable. And they did.
This is a nightmare!
Gentlemen,
Oh my
I
God.
see no need for resentment in light of this joyous occasion of my freedom.
In this episode, we have this Hutt crime syndicate family that we've never really seen. We've sort of hinted at before. And we get to see them for the first time and give a face to a darker side of Star Wars, this underworld.
The idea that there's an underworld, that there are crime lords controlling vast amounts of wealth and power in the Star Wars galaxy is nothing new. This idea really originates with Jabba, the idea that Han is working for someone in A New Hope. It gets expanded upon to see that he even has a palace in Return of the Jedi, and that he really is like a mafia boss. He's a godfather. Another one of the things that I wanted in this world was I wanted to show the audience that Hutts can look different.
It was a challenge to sort of come up with Hutts that still looked like Hutts but didn't just look like Jabba. It was important that Jabba still stand out and be very distinct from everyone else. So this was an opportunity to just come up with Hutts that were still credibly Hutts, and they were the same species, but they had slightly different sort of facial features and slightly different builds. Their heads are quite different in terms of the shapes that they are.
I love it.
Gardula appears in Phantom Menace.
Zero.
So Gardula is actually visible behind Jabba during the pod race sequence. We sort of took kind of the same approach that it looks like ILM took for Gardula in the first place, which was if you just take Jabba, slice his head in half, and then paste the other half to itself, it will look like a Hutt, but it won't look like Jabba because Jabba's face does sort of slide.
Well, that's a
to
good
one
point.
side. Something that Wayne had come up with for the other Hutts that came in really handy was the toops. The toops are those sort of small,
Oh my God, that was so
dark blue
weird. Yes.
starfish-like creatures that are sort of just living on the top of some of the Hutts' heads. Because the toops had worked so well on the other Hutts, we decided to sort of give Mama the Hutt this sort of big, bizarre top knot, which is, if you look closely, made up of nothing but a pile of toops.
mama.
Should have figured after all these years and never called, you'd show up at dinner time.
We applied the same process to her voice. Believe it or not, it's a woman that actually performs this. It doesn't sound like it after the process. The same process that we applied to Jabba's voice, but we kind of cranked it up a few notches.
Should have figured after all these years and never calling,
you'd show up at dinner time.
Wow.
She's got this giant booming voice, and
Wow.
it sounds kind of threatening, but it also sounds, it's also kind of funny. At least it's funny to me anyway. It's probably one of my favorite characters in season 3 is Mama the Hutt.
You won't sit and you stank.
You gonna pass the slime pause.
When Hunt for Zero was first presented to me, the first challenge that I saw was the environment.
George had some very specific ideas about Nal Hutta. He gave us some really rough sketches. It was to be this very swampy, these big pustule orbs kind of sticking up where they would build their palaces.
When we went into the design of Nal Hutta, we wanted to basically build modules that repeat themselves on the ground. So that enabled us to build a network. And here you're just looking at a small section of Nal Hutta. So you can quickly see that no matter where we are down here, it doesn't matter, you're not seeing the repeating patterns. And when you drop in a map painting in the background, it looks a lot like all of this.
It
just continues on forever.
Nal Hutta is pretty
All
cool,
of this
actually.
is just
Especially when they're more, to
same
be honest.
pieces, same 3 or 4
You don't
pieces
want
of
banana.
geometry repeated
You can't
over
eat banana.
and over again.
You just think you want a banana. You
This was
don't.
also the first episode where I started to open the throttle a little bit,
Dogs, eh?
and get it a little bit more dramatic, like something that would be a little bit over the top. And I thought, well, you know what? I want a disco ball in that room. I want to see lights constantly going around that room the entire time on the huts.
Is this the Dahat Muna scene?
That, I feel, completely changed the mood of that room.
I think it is. Is it?
When we got to the introduction of Sai Snoodles, you know, was in the script, she was singing this song, and we queued up Temple of Doom. I said, this is what Sai Snoodles has to be doing. I want women and the feathers, choreography moving, and they do this ridiculous number, and then up pops Sai Snoodles.
It's an odd couple between Sai Snoodles and Zero the Hutt, because Zero the Hutt is this huge slug, and Sai Snoodles is this little like dumpling with chopstick legs, you know?
Sai is one of those characters that first appeared as purely a puppet for the original release of Return of the Jedi, and then she got a sort of CG makeover for the re-releases in the 90s. Sai has extremely skinny limbs, very, very thin, and layers of strips of sort of leather
So good.
hanging off her belt, and she's a lot of sort of small, fine detail. She's pretty much a 20s flapper in the body
so
of
good.
some sort of frog, giraffe thing.
She got this long protruding lips from her head, which, you know, it looks really funny. So I said, let's play with that a little bit.
I thought you were coming back for me. I waited so long. I thought you didn't love me anymore.
So good.
Hey,
Quinlan!
Commander, looking good. Kenobi, you look worse for wear. How's Temple life?
It was always among the things the fans would ask me is, Dave, when are we going to see Quinlan Vos? For people not in the know, Quinlan Vos was a rather large figure when it came to the comic books of Star Wars and the EU. George liked the character too. You know, he wanted to bring it to the Clone Wars and thought, well, this would be a good episode, hunting the Hutts. You know, makes sense.
He's
to
a
bring
funny
Quinlan
dude,
into
isn't
it.
he?
He's
He's a
always working
random.
with the Underworld in the comic books.
Who's the Quinlan
So we had
Vos
decisions
group?
about the voice, and
We
you
should
know,
go through each
we wanted
character and
keep him
say
a rough,
who is
kinda
most like
tough
this
guy,
character in the
older
race
feeling than Anakin, but kind of with less mannerisms.
Because he's been around for so long, there's different interpretations and even different iterations of the character. The first time he appeared, he was wearing a fairly traditional Jedi outfit, very similar to Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan's. And then he went through a sort of dark you know,
Maybe.
angsty, tortured period where he's wearing lots of black leather and eyeliner and stuff. And that seemed a little too far in the other direction. So we sort of looked at the different options there were for a look for Quinlan Vos and tried to settle on one that was pretty iconic and still was credibly a Jedi outfit, but didn't look like Obi-Wan's at all. It was a very different palette. There was a lot more sort of tooled leather and decals and stuff.
To make an action scene exciting, it has to forward the story. Of course, it can't be just random. You know, like violence. What inspired me to do some of the action is I truly believe Star Wars gives you the opportunity to have super heroic action and kung fu action. I think they embody the two genres for me. I always trying to pose the characters to their unique talents. Like for Jedis, they're super athletic. You got to think of them as like martial artists. So I inject those way of thinking of a martial artist into the action of our characters in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, kind of true.
I never did enjoy hanging out with you.
When we went to
So
see the
good.
episodes,
Such a good contrast.
Evil Plans and Hunt for Zero, I told Brian and Stu, I said, these are going to be some of the weirdest things we ever do. I mean, you'll see what I mean when we get into it. But this is, we were doing a spa for droids. We're doing size noodles, romancing Zero the Hutt. I mean, weird stuff.
Not the kind of thing that a weekly action TV series is going to give you very often.
It's so true. This arc was so weird.
It was different.
Love it. So good. Yeah, Cad Bane's fight scene was pretty good. It was pretty solid. Ooh. I love this one. Witches and monsters. Let's get to it.
I'm here at the world famous Grauman's Egyptian Theatre for the world premiere of the Savage Opress Clone Wars episodes.
Katie, the writer, her debut, Star Wars debut tonight.
It's really exciting. I'm really honored to have people see it. I hope they like it. I started working on this show when I was 17, and I just left for college. And my dad just said, you know, you like to write. Here's a story. Why don't you try to do this? And that ended up being Jedi Crash.
Wow!
And I worked independently on a bunch of episodes. And it was my first experience in season 3 being in an actual writer's room.
When it got time to the writers' meeting, George wanted to do this arc that involved Ventress and the Night Sisters, which we were all pretty excited about.
Season 3 was very much about learning and observing and seeing what it's like to work with people who have ideas and fight for them. We all just pitch ideas and storylines, and it's fun. Season 3 is a lot darker than the rest has been. It's going to be heavy stuff.
We knew we wanted to tell a bit of the story about Ventress flashback.
It was a great experience to explore Ventress's backstory a little bit more because we never really got a sense of where she came from.
Take me to Dathomir.
The original Ventress design proposed for episode 2 was this sort of pale-faced, vaguely samurai-looking female character that was similar to another design for episode 1 for a Sith witch, and neither of those designs made it into the live-action films, but they were both interesting concepts and added to George's huge pile of interesting artwork for future use.
Yeah, me too. I wish they handled her story better.
Ventress
back
is
for
now
Ahsoka,
officially a Night Sister herself, which gives you an instant history that hadn't been there in the past, and sort of meant that the way she looked made sense. We also get to see Ventress at various stages of her life, from infant through toddler to adolescent. It was very much a case of sort of reverse engineering what that person looked like. And that was all Wayne Lowe with ideas that Katie had, because Katie Lucas was pretty specific about the looks She was very keen to see Ventress have some sort of mohawk at some point.
She should have a mohawk.
These are all different versions of that mohawk where it could be, straight up, or maybe it's flopped over to the side, or maybe it's shaved, but it's
Super
slicked
underrated.
down a little bit.
I like a lot of punk pop bands like Joan Jett. Brody Dahl of the Distillers had this really big mohawk. I had in my head like just this fleet of Joan Jetts and Brody Dahls running about. Tank Girl was a big inspiration for me growing up. I wanted them to be tough because I consider myself pretty tough, even though I'm a total nerd and probably not tough at all.
Yeah.
Baby Ventress weirdly took a little bit more working out than anticipated because we'd never really done a baby or a child that young. When it's in 2D, she had eyebrows, which makes
Oh my God.
sense. But what we found when you went
Yeah, it's
to
cool,
3D
They're so good watching these.
was
I
that the
think it's so much
eyebrows
fun.
started to overpower the rest of her features. She looked more like some sort of Soviet-era politician with these pretty pronounced, bushy eyebrows that just looked out of place. So in the end, they got shaved off, and the eyebrows are purely paint. This is the kind of stuff that gets debated over the course of a day on the Clone Wars production. Does Baby Ventress have eyebrows?
Your sacrifice has
So good.
never been forgotten.
With Mother Talzin and kind of with the Night Sisters in general, I kind of just unloaded all of my theremin-based sound design into those 3 episodes. All of the stings, all the magic swirls.
I told Dave, I said, boy, it'd be great if when Mother Talzin's talking, it's like these are like spells coming out of her mouth.
Under Mother Talzin's voice is a subharmonic booming echo. We kind of make it a little bit more present when she's talking about Darth Maul or when she's talking about Dooku. That boom will show up in your 0.1 and your 5.1.
That's better.
From the initial design of Mother Talzin, first thing that popped in my mind was just to make her a little bit more spooky would be to have these flaps just kind of moving, almost like silk scarves underwater that are just constantly flowing.
Baby
I had this idea that we could
Right?
do a setup that's
I hate
like a
chicken. How long
rig
have you
that
been
is
here, dude?
permanently in the asset. So at all times, even when she's doing nothing, her back
That
robe
would.
is
Oh
just
man,
always
that's
kind
a
of
great
blowing
like
in the wind.
just theory. That's a great idea.
On the agenda, it was like, how on earth we're going to make 3 women turn into smoke?
Now you are invisible.
Usually I make this stuff up as I go along. I went in and Photoshop, came up with how to do it in 3 steps, and the studio totally got it from that Photoshop file. I have that snapshot on my computer, and it just always just reminds me that it can just be that simple.
Dooku gets attacked in his bedroom, and he obviously wouldn't be wearing
His pajamas.
usual
This is the
Dooku
pajama
outfit, so
episode. Dooku
the
and his
script called
jammies.
for Dooku pajamas.
Yes.
The Dooku is an aristocrat, so he's obviously going to be wearing tailored night clothes. He's not going to just buy off the rack.
I guess we all need PJs, right? So I was assigned to do the Dooku, well, it's actually called Dooku leisure wear, but they're really pajamas, so.
They look very comfortable. They have a monogram on the pocket. Very stylish. I mean, what can you say? You have to admire Dooku. He keeps it together.
He does. He does. He's a fashion icon.
The Night Sisters was going to be one of our first attempts in the series to create an environment that we would revisit a couple times and create a world that we've never created before. We had to make it a planet you wouldn't want to go to. So immediately, it's Red Planet. All throughout this arc, we really broke new ground on how to light. So by having all this naughty little twigs and branches, we're able to always have shadow over the characters or have those branches act as a really nice backdrop. It looks like a sculpture.
Count Dooku in pajamas.
Bring the water of life.
The sort of intensely green, glowing liquids,
Yeah, the
very
shack
unique
carpet.
to the Night Sisters, and makes everything much creepier because the light level is so low. You've got that whole sort of campfire spookiness happening in the shadows. The whole underground stepped city. It's pretty much
I
two
love this
different
city,
stone
actually. I wish we
columns,
saw this
slightly
place more.
rotated
It's
in
so
different
cool.
directions, so you don't see that it's the same column. You can sort of sell the
There's
idea
power
that
for
this is a
PJs?
bigger and more
Surely.
complicated environment
Surely,
than what
he's
you're
a senator
actually
as well.
seeing.
When we do the writers' meeting, all the writers together with George and myself, we beat out an outline for how the story is going to flow, and then it's up to the writer to expand that and make it all fleshed out. And George said one of the things he wanted to do in the story arc was to drop Ventress out as Dooku's apprentice. Dooku attempted to destroy her, and then he attempts to recover by getting a new apprentice, which is where Savage Opress came in.
You have heard of the Sith warrior, Darth Maul, have you not?
Yes. He was slain on Naboo at the hand of
Sin coming in with a $5 dues. Nice to see thousands of
still
adventures. Need their own animated show. Yeah, Dathomir. I think
The men
Ahsoka season 2
dwell on the far
on Dathomir. Give us an animated show with that. Yeah, about Dathomir. I love that.
Dathomir
100%.
is
Thank you
a
for the 5
very
Sin. Appreciate it. It's
female-oriented
so generous.
planet. I mean, they rule this whole planet.
OJ in
I was
the
actually
chat.
really inspired
How
by
you doing,
the book
legend?
Herland by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, which I read in high school, and it's about this kind of utopia of when
imagine
the
Crystal
men
Fleet
who
literally in
are
those
the same species as Darth
pajamas.
Maul are
Would be
kind of like
amazing.
their slaves.
I have come for the selection.
Yes, yes, of course. Line up. Heads of each tribe, line up for the sister.
And there was a sort of conscious effort to stay away from something that was too Darth Maul. There's a certain amount of styling going on with Darth Maul. He has pretty expensive looking leather boots and gloves, and he's got satin trim on his collar and stuff. But when you look at the average Night Brother, they're wearing pretty much down and dirty outfits that don't have a great deal of finesse to them. They're sort of living this very hard scrabble Spartan existence and harsh environment. It's pretty bleak and uncomfortable from day one.
Let the games begin.
The sort of key standout element of the whole Night Brothers village is the arena.
These guys are the warriors of the galaxy, as tough as they come before you get to be a Jedi or a Sith.
Pathetic.
Throughout this arc, Dave had the great idea of wanting to see stars in the sky when we're on the ground, even during the day. It made me think of a moment that I'll always remember in Jaws, night in the boat, and all of a sudden, in the sky, a shooting star.
Only 4 of you remain.
So I figured, let's put the shooting star right
That's
when
so cool.
things were about to change.
Who will be the
Wow.
first to fall?
Part of the challenge was creating a character like that was going to be very familiar with a very classic character, Darth
pretty
Maul,
much.
and it still had a lot
Pretty
of heart.
much.
Spare him.
OJ with the $2.
Even though they're rough
$2
and sort of
dues.
look
Ventress is
ominous,
looking
they're fairly
she is
innocent.
looking
Savage is an innocent
100%.
who is then turned and manipulated into this monster.
He has surrendered his life to me.
Mother Talzin kind of runs her hand up over Savage Opress like an animal at a fair or something, and it just added a lot of evil resonance to it.
So true.
The glow of the energy around the characters had to be something that you knew would come from these witches. What if I had this energy just wrapping around him, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark?
The green sort of mist is kind of covering him up, but you're getting the sense that he's been changed and he is physically growing. A lot of the fans kind of assume that the Night Sisters can tap into the Force, but as far as I was concerned, they had powers of their own, special powers that their sisterhood used. Whether or not it has anything to do with the Force, maybe that's a matter of opinion.
Super
that's a good
Savage
point.
Opress is slightly less extreme than he was at the design phase. When Darren Marshall designed it, we just kept pushing him. We were like, no, make it worse, make it more insane, just really make him huge.
May I present Savage Opress.
Such a great moment.
Is a sight to behold.
Before he's actually transformed, he's kind of lit from all sides. Towards the end, the light is always behind him. When he picks up Farrell, he's just backlit. You do not need to see him.
I remember reading that part in the script and thinking to myself, no, he's not going to kill his brother. No, he's not going to kill him. No. And yeah, he does. He kills him.
So crazy.
That's really the only way we're going to be able to connect to the reality that he isn't who he used to be. Now he really is just a pawn of Ventress.
Yes, sister.
There's all this sort of talk of being in master or servant relationships or in partnerships, but it really does seem to be every man for himself.
We will be even more powerful than Lord Sidious. I am your servant.
I know I'm saying ooh, like I don't know what's happening.
This is just a complete
Ooh.
villain smackdown brawl from the dark side of the Force's point of view, right down to the training of Savage Opress.
You have no technique.
Everything comes up through the gut, through anger and hate, and it's focused in rage and contempt.
With the proper training, you could be a powerful warrior.
Savage is just a brute force he's like a wrecking ball with a lightsaber. It's very much the anti-Luke training. Yoda teaches Luke through trial and error and faith from inside.
Something that I just kind of pushed for as a nerd was to give Dooku the sort of traditional scary yellow and red eyes people only use in their full-on bad guy mode. But it was really more just because I thought it would look cool, and it is pretty freaky.
The electrocution of Savage, it just goes on forever. The poor guy is just roasted.
You must connect
Literally.
with your hatred.
Oh, that's right. It's Clancy Brown. What did Clancy doing?
Yeah, I like that take. That's really good.
I had found out that Clancy Brown was a huge fan of the Clone Wars. I remember Clancy from when I was a kid. He was in the movie The Highlander, and he played this incredible villain called the Kargan. Years later, I wouldn't have thought that here I would be directing a Star Wars television series, and I'd be asking this guy to play Darth Maul's brother.
But all of my kin were killed.
Not all of them.
What it all comes down to in this big arc, what it all comes down to is what's in that crystal ball at the end of it.
Darth Maul alive? It can't be. I killed him myself.
Strange and disturbing these questions are. How could that be? He got cut in half.
That was news for all of us too. I kind of like that you don't necessarily get a completely clear view of this character, and it's really left open-ended if this is something that you're seeing that's happening in real time, or if this is some sort of vision or a dream, is this something that happened in the past or in the future.
That reveal kind of had to be critical.
What does that
Nothing
even
was
mean?
really certain. If I can just plant the seed of just these little things of what Darth Maul is going to look like, you can put the rest together in your head.
He's live. He's dead. You will find out. This is not something that you will get a vague answer to.
You have an important destiny to fulfill, Savage Opress.
The best thing about Lucasfilm is that we really are a family. And I know I'm not just saying that because I am family with George. It's fun to be in a room with a bunch of people that you don't know, and by the end you guys are like best friends. It's fun to create and recreate, this big myth. It's like a Greek myth that we're all just a part of. It's fantastic.
So cool. I think we've only got 2 videos left. I thought this was going to go for so much longer, but because these videos are
You'll
going.
notice on this
over.
box that there is no lengthy documentary on the Mortis trilogy.
Oh.
Christian Taylor, who wrote the trilogy, and myself, we both firmly believe that we should really not answer directly a lot of the questions about Mortis. Was that really Qui-Gon Jinn that appeared to Obi-Wan in the cave or not? What does it mean that Ahsoka talks to her older self? Will she ever reach that age? Who was the father? What does it mean now that Anakin's the chosen one and that he has a better understanding of that? Ahsoka apparently died and she came back to life. Does that have any meaning? We have answers to those questions for sure. But if I answer directly what something is, I feel that I'll be robbing you of the purpose of that arc, which is to make you wonder. It's to make you challenge certain ideas, to ask questions. There are many mysteries in Star Wars. There are many mysteries on the planet Mortis. I think George really started to delve back into the mythology that he created about the Force itself. And we started to see some of those elements be personified in the father, the son, and the daughter. George is highly involved in all aspects of this series, but when we deal directly with the Force, Christian Taylor and I feel very strongly that, that word has to come directly from George. A lot of the notes from Mortis come from a really old binder that George has that has his original writings on what the Force is and what makes it up.
The core of the Force. I mean, you got the dark side, the light side. One is selfless, one is selfish. And you want to keep them in balance.
Slowly, over time, things will start to become more clear about Mortis. We aren't done exploring the nature of the Force and the kind of bigger mythical questions that we began to ask in the Mortis trilogy. Always in motion is the future, and the Clone Wars future is in motion right now, working on future episodes that will continue this rather intriguing arc that George has brought to light after many years.
Yeah, because I was about to say, it's super weird. This Mortis one was only 2 minutes. I was like, how can that be? Because Mortis is so big. But that's how interesting is that? The fact that he says, hey, we're not actually going to do a BTS of this arc because we want it to be a mystery. So cool. So cool. Now, there's only one more after this. Chewbacca returns. Oh, these episodes are some of my favorite. I love these episodes.
When something of the magnitude of Chewbacca appearing on the Clone Wars happens, you can always rest assured as the audience that this comes directly from George Lucas. And cool. So there we were in the story meeting. We're going to do our Ahsoka story, and George says, and I would like Chewbacca in this story. So, okay, you're going to get Chewbacca. As soon as George described these stories to us, I said, man, I got to direct both of these. And they're both about Ahsoka. And I always feel very connected to that storyline. And I wanted to make sure that the crew was hyper aware of how important bringing Chewbacca to the screen was going to be, and that we stayed focused the whole time to make him authentic Chewbacca.
So what we did very early on, what Dave really wanted to do, which I thought was brilliant, was we brought Peter Mayhew to meet with the crew. We wanted to have a question and answer period.
Yeah, everyone was just rapt. I mean, they just were listening to him. They were absorbing every little moment, and made a difference to talk to Peter, to meet Peter, for everyone involved, making the models, doing the hair. I mean, they got this sense not just of who Chewbacca was and what his character should be like, but I think they also got a sense of, like, here's this man, Peter Mayhew, that has really embodied Chewbacca for all these years. So cool. And we have to do right by this. This has to be something that he likes. It's just really informative on just how, when you're in the suit, even what that was like in the suit. And we actually got the suit out.
The eyes, obviously, are of major importance.
Well, that's the real trick, isn't it?
It's body language and eye language.
Chewie has a peculiar walk, which is unique to me.
It's the angle, it's the knock-kneed approach. You watch me walk, it's Chewie to the T.
This is from A New Hope.
You look at any picture, Chewie's mouth is almost always open.
Always open. So we have to make sure the animators get that too. Always kind of open.
This couldn't be, Chewie's stunt double or a Wookiee that looked okay. It had to be very specifically that character, and that's really where the challenge came in. We were very lucky because we still have Darren Marshall on the crew, who can sculpt pretty much anything and find a way to simplify it but keep it really true to the essence of what that thing is.
So for Chewbacca, we tried to go for the original look from A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. The reason being is that the fur on the Chewbacca from those two, we felt it was going to be easier to translate to the style of the show. I mean, we really went to town on the details, like the underbite on the bottom of the jaw, the eye alignment, the amount of attention to detail on Chewbacca, even the teeth, the canine teeth are kind of angled outwards, as you can see. Just little things like that, we'll try and make it as accurate as we could. You see it, it's Chewbacca.
So after we did all of that, we then brought Peter Mayhew back up, because we wanted to show him the work. We wanted him to see the culmination of everything that we had done, that he had helped kickstart and put in motion.
When he comes round and they say, "What's that? There's something there."
Yeah.
Gradually, as he unfolds, you see the hair come back, and it's a Wookiee.
You know, with you and George, I know when you watch it, you'll know the difference. There's a certain way the character is, and it's not just the big, hairy Sasquatch guy. There's a real character there.
Everything is right. The face is great. You guys have done a wonderful job.
Your name is Chewbacca.
When we showed it to George, when George was impressed with all the visuals and everything, he said that when I saw him turn around, I knew I was looking at Chewbacca.
It's a Wookiee.
And that's just as good as it can get.
When I direct an episode, I try to test the pipeline. I try to see how far we can
It's
go
so
with an
true.
episode. So I wanted to push
It's
the
so
idea
true.
of the
So many
organic
genius
environments in this
things
episode
we
more
just
than we
don't
had ever
talk
done
about,
before. So I started describing to Tara Rooping this, this kind of big tangled mess of a canopy that was like where rabbits would go and hide in a thicket, but we're little tiny people on these giant branches all twisting around in every direction, that it would be easy to get lost in this environment.
I really wanted to push this kind of fantastic environment with waterfalls that are coming, plants hanging and stuff like that, and pushing the stylization, having the forms kind of foreboding and arcing over the characters. I also wanted to make sure that the floor of the island too was so dense and making that really threatening, foreboding, entrapment feeling.
There wasn't anywhere in this entire environment that looked comfortable, I mean, even the beach doesn't look like a beach you'd want to hang out on. It's just a nasty, very unforgiving, hostile place to be. And then the palette, which is a sort of acidic green, it's just, everything about it is really harsh. Everything was sort of very intentionally kept as uncomfortable and, inhospitable looking as possible. From before you even approach the planet, you can kind of get a sense that this is not going to be a fun place to go.
Everything was a challenge. And as we were blocking it out and filming it, I started looking at all these big branches and I started going, man, I don't know if this is really going to look good. It wasn't, I'm not talking about the compositions, I'm talking about the surfaces of these shapes. You could tell that it was a really highly detailed painting that was kind of wrapped around an object. It wasn't tangible enough.
We were worried the sets themselves would look like just jumbled mess of rubber tubes. And working with Josh Rowe, who's my right-hand man for effects development, came up with a method to take any part of our geometry and to emit on that geometry a bunch of little things that look like thorns and curlicues and twigs and branches really quickly. And it would just litter it real quick.
Joel started filling it with ants and bugs and butterflies and little creepy crawly things and mist and, a sense of humidity. It's definitely was for us a very big moment visually. And it just makes you feel like I'm in this environment finally.
So it was that little tiny tidbit that really shattered the way we do our environments in general.
That was just a tremendous moment where I thought, now we're finally starting to look like something, and we're going to use this in the future to make
It's such a
everything
great.
we're
I
doing better.
love these 2 episodes. They're so good. 100% Sam.
Important to light
This
our
is
show
where
now
my
as if it's a feature,
prejudice for Trandoshan
as if
began.
you're really trying to tell the story with lighting. It's amazing how we went from lighting concept to lighting the shot, and they just look exact. It's exactly how we wanted it.
Wow.
In Padawan's Lost, there's a sequence when Khalifa gets shot.
Khalifa!
That's where I needed to turn that entire jungle set into darkness, to just all of a sudden let it feel like it's all coming down on you, and you're that last hope of light that you're continuing to shine.
Leave me. I won't.
We kept bringing it down like tunnel vision, right down to the point of where you're so sucked in on that conversation, and then you pull back to a wide shot when Ahsoka stands up and everything else is black, and she's just hit by this light, and the shadow from her shards of light are shining down onto Khalifa, and then she just exits screen right. It's that moment of that she's all alone, So by putting that little stuff into our show, I really
Yeah,
feel
this is such an emotional
we're
few
adding that
episodes.
cinematic quality that'll hold viewers in without even realizing why they're being sucked into the show.
Myself and Matt Mekowitz, the writer, we both felt very strongly that the Trandoshans were the perfect enemy for this series because they historically in the EU are said to hunt down Wookiees and slave trade Wookiees, and it seemed to set up a great conflict.
The sun has risen. Let the hunt begin.
When we knew that we were going to see more Trandoshans, rather than sort of take Bosk and just revisit that but not do much to it, we saw it as an opportunity to introduce much harder sort of reptilian shapes into the silhouettes that you see, and also just add a little bit more detail to the head so that it wasn't quite as soft as the Bosk character turned out to be in Lethal Trackdown. There was more of a conscious effort to come up with different sort of shapes and
it's a good
silhouettes and
season ending.
builds.
I wanted them to have more stripes on their faces, and the idea that some of them had like feathered crowns on their head. They were different colors, different patterns.
They were all designed by Pat Presley, who sort of became the creature, monster guru for season 3.
Darren Marshall, he set the Bosk look already. He designed Bosk for his episode. And then I simply just used those designs as my jumping off point. So we changed a different body type. And the focus is the fact that they're hunters. So you have like a shooting jacket, shooting vest, pouches, jungle outfit, safari outfits, mixed in there with camouflage.
They look so much more superior than poor Bosk. So here's, I guess, a tiny spoiler would be we redid Bosk as a result of these episodes for the future. So yes, Bosk will be back. But we had to improve him because these Trandoshans were so much more alive in so many ways than Bosk. The original script had the hunting lodge on the ground, hidden in the jungle. And, at the story beat out session and everything, I thought, well, that's a little strange that the other younglings haven't found this place and all the time they've been there, and felt a little convenient that they finally find it when Ahsoka shows up. So when Killian Plunkin and I were discussing this early on and going over the script again, he suggested, well, why don't we try putting the hunting lodge up in the sky? Which I thought that was a fantastic idea.
It was a pretty strange blend of established spaceship that we'd already worked out, feudal Japanese castle, and oil rig. The interior of the lodge was designed by Wayne Lowe and is one of the sort of most intricate, involved, really, really decked out sets that we've ever done in the series. There were so many different things inside this set that, you would have to check with the assets department, but I'm pretty sure there are like hundreds of things in that room if you add them all up.
It's it's the Rancho Obi-Wan of Clone Wars. It's where all the collectibles are. It's basically every animal asset that we created for the series is in there, stuffed in some form. We have a Gungan stuffed, some of the ice creatures from Trespass in there. Zillow Beast scales that are the floor to the entranceway with Zillow Beast teeth and tail spikes in the back. Jedi Padawan braids hanging in the back. A Mandalorian Crusader helmet. We have a Wampa skin that's draped over Garnak's throne. There are Wookiee skins hanging on the wall. Oddly, we have the crystal skull from Indiana Jones. And I'm sure there's more stuff than that. Those
No way.
have
Oh,
been busy.
damn it. My
They
camera was in front of it.
a lot
That's
of
so
stuff.
cool. Yeah, not the Gungan.
Now.
In this episode, among other things, wanting the story to work, wanting the character arcs to work, I wanted to have some big action set pieces. And I wanted to try to push things to be in a very high cinematic level, meaning that I wanted to give the audience some action sequences that I thought you would only get normally on a big budget feature. So when it came to the crash of the Trandoshan slave ship, I said, this is it. This is where I want this giant moment. And it's going to reveal Chewbacca. This has to be big. So there were a lot of interesting elements that we could play with Ahsoka inside. And, once she's in that fight in there and she kicks the guy and he hits the steering wheel, it's going to start tilting the ship. And I wanted this whole thing rotating over the water as it's spinning slightly faster. And we just crashed right into the beach. And, this is almost like, okay, Joel, what can you do?
Well, I didn't want to do a typical splash here. I wanted to go back to the style of anime. In developing that, we looked back at the technique that I developed for the rooster tail in season 1 and used that same method of emitting geometry. It just comes out like little spikes, it's like broken shards of glass that stick out of the water. Well, you combine that with particles and have that fade out a little bit, and it looks like a big splash. So we use that over and over again. The nice thing is with that geometry is you can scale it real down low. So if you watch as that's breaking off, there's little tiny pieces hitting the water and you're seeing little tiny splashes around. You'll see that the sand doesn't just kick up. There's huge spikes of sand that are visible in those few frames. And see the spikes, and then they just fall as sand. As simple as it sounds, it was the most difficult sequence.
Wow.
It involved the most people and the most time on the episode.
And then we're going to wrap it up with sound design and Matt Wood and Dave Acord. And we're going to have a great sequence because they're going to lend it all the reality that you would get in a big feature.
The spaceship crash was, if you listen to it, it's a really complicated scene.
So fascinating.
The way we kind of go back and forth and back and forth. There was just a ton of elements that kind of went into that. There's the creaking ship as it's coming apart, all these little explosions, electrical arcing. We go inside the ship, it's a totally different world in there. There's all the little instrument panel explosions. As we go back outside, and we've got wind. And the ship is now spinning out of control. We crash into the water.
Oh, I forgot there's the Kiari Jr. kid.
That was a fun scene to cut. That was a lot of that's a lot of sound. Yeah.
Well, I guess we won't be escaping on that ship.
But when I set out to do this episode, I made sure that I had the time for a proper ending. This is a big moment. Ahsoka has been on her own. Anakin has been forced to let go. This scene where they reunite is important, and it cannot be short.
Ahsoka.
This is the moment for Ahsoka. This is the moment where she says, "It's because of you and your training that I survived, Master. Even though you weren't there, you're a part of me. You can let go of that attachment."
And because of you, I did survive.
These are ideas that Anakin
Oh,
struggles with.
so nice.
His mother, Padme, Obi-Wan. People that he cares about, even R2. Yoda in the Clone Wars movie is trying to teach Anakin through giving him a Padawan to let go of his attachments. And Yoda knows there will come a point in time where Anakin will have to let go of that attachment, where he'll be faced with a situation where Ahsoka will be on her own, as Anakin's mother was on her own. And that there won't be anything Anakin can do to stop what's going to happen to Ahsoka or not. This is that moment. It's taken 3 seasons, but this episode arc is that moment where Anakin comes face to face with his worst fear, Ahsoka, in a situation there's nothing he can do.
Ahsoka, I am so sorry.
And this is her moment to say thank you. This is completely different than where she started in the movie. And she respectfully bows. I mean, when have you ever seen Anakin and Ahsoka really respectfully bow to each other? They walk off the landing platform with a different relationship than they had before. Anakin is much more settled. And you see Yoda, and he just silently watches this. And in a rare moment, we see Yoda smile because he feels that things, for once, are moving as he would have hoped. And that there is a possibility that this story will be written in a way that Yoda hopes happens. Now, unfortunately, we know that's not the case. And we know that Anakin, in the end, does turn to the dark side and become Darth Vader. It's going to be exciting to the finish. I can guarantee that.
Oh, it's so good. How bloody good. How bloody good. It's so true. Like this episode and this episode arc, it did so much, and he explained it so well just then. But I think that's why spoilers. I think that's why in the Ahsoka show, I really do think they did the connection of Anakin and Ahsoka so well. And especially like re-listening to this and seeing this and talking about this is just enriches that scene in Ahsoka so much more when they connect and they talk about the training. And as much as Ahsoka's the Padawan, I think all throughout their relationship as Master and Padawan, Anakin's having to learn lessons from her as well. I think I probably didn't appreciate that enough beforehand, but yeah, just like these episodes, yes, it's a test for Ahsoka, but it's so much a test for Anakin. That is such a great point. Such a great point. Oh, how good. How good. 100%. The episode in the War Between Worlds was so perfect for that relationship. 100%. 100%. Search your feelings. You guys are hilarious. They truly did. They did a good job with Anakin and Ahsoka in the show. Yeah, I think they did perfect. He did it perfectly. I don't think he could get any better. I don't think he could have improved it. But that was season 3. It's doing it differently. Season 1, it was all the single episodes. Like each episode had a video to it. But this one's all separate. How do I get out of this? So I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check that was the last one. Yeah, because the next one is season 4, Battle of Mon Cala. Yeah, and Umbara, that slave arc, the Obi-Wan. Oh man, season 4 is kind of wild. Hot take: season 4 is could be my least favorite episode. Season 4 could be least favorite season. It's just, I think it goes a little too weird for me. It's a little too weird. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone vibe with this take? Hey Sag in the chat. How you doing? Gotten your your Rayside merch. Appreciate you for picking some up. Repping the hoodie. It's kind of crazy that you guys are just like on the other side of the world and you just have Rayside merch. It's so nuts. I appreciate it. I was still out on the Mon Cala arc. Mon Cala arc is kind of, you know what? Funny enough, that is the only arc of that season I think I really actively enjoy. Because it's weird. We have the Darth Maul arc was not bad in season 4 actually. And Umbara. What the hell am I saying? It's pretty good. Umbara is probably the best arc of season 4. But the other ones I'm a little funny about. A little weird. Yeah, Umbara, the Anakin and the slaves. Obi-Wan goes undercover and like transforms himself. The Mon Cala arc. There's some big arcs in there. Some big ones. Season 7 is your least favorite? What the hell are you saying, Troha? We're doing good. We're hanging out. I know. I don't know if I said this, but I said this in my head. I think season 4 is your favorite, Tim. It seems like it would be your favorite because you love that slave tribe. Zygerian? Is that what they call it? The Zygerian arc. I should call it that. So nice, Yaba. It's tough because it's just very emotional with all the treatment, the terrible treatment of the clones. I know. It's one of those tricky things where it's like, it's so bad it's good. Like, it's such a powerful and meaningful arc and episodes, but it's also so horrible because it's like such horrible things happen. They get treated so poorly. It's so sad. It's like, it's so bad it's good. It's so tricky. No way. That's such a hot take, Trevor. Damn. But fair enough. Says love season 4 because the shift from phase 1 and 2, the outfit changes and older Ahsoka. Yeah, it's true. There was a lot of shifts. Maybe that's why I didn't love it. Maybe there's too many shifts for me. The armor, the outfits. It was quite a shift. It was quite a shift. Heard about Crystal Crisis arc? Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that anyway. I didn't like the slave traders arc. It felt like the arc with everyone faking death and the council not trusting really stuff. Yes, I really didn't like that arc of the whole Obi-Wan goes undercover. I really didn't love that. I did not love that arc at all. I thought it was just a little too far, which is hilarious because there's a lot of things in Clone Wars that are really bizarre and push the boundaries, but I just thought this one was too weird. Like, how many times are we gonna fake the deaths of people for Anakin? Like, it's weird. And I remember, like, first time watching that episode, being like, I know Obi-Wan's alive. Like, how is he dead? This is weird. It was weird. I didn't love it. I didn't love it. Yeah, but I mean, this is where the subjectivity comes in, though, because I really enjoyed the Martez sister arc. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super cool. But I really love the crime syndicate side of Clone Wars. I love that and like all the little factions there are. So I think I enjoyed seeing more of that. So that's probably why I loved it. Yeah, the one where he's a spy and he goes bald. Oh, so weird. Like, what the hell is going on? Of course you do, Kiari. Of course you do. 100%. Of course you do. So many little things the council did just prove to Anakin they did not trust him and they were corrupted by the ideals the Jedi were supposed to be. 100%. It is, but I don't know. I just think it's a story concept. It's like too far or something. I don't know. I just always thought it was weird. The Jedi's back. Master OJ, you're true. I would tolerate it if there was more content, not just an arc I already saw and an arc I didn't enjoy. Man, try hard given the rough feedback. Fair enough. Well, this thing of the two, we've got the Mata sisters. Was expecting something a lot more crazy. Maybe that's my fault. Yeah, I kind of understand from that perspective. Is like, I think especially with the kind of cliffhanger of her character being so important, she leaves the order. I kind of get what you mean here, but like you were expecting something more kind of crazy to be happening. Like, oh my god, she went and did this. I like the Mata sisters, but loved any episodes that shows the common people aspects. Yes, I would agree with that. I think I like that element as well. I like that element. My favorite Clone Wars is when Maul is in it. Yeah, and he's got a good arc in season 4. To be fair, Qui-Gon would have just gone along with it. So much of that stuff. Yeah, true. Can't wait for episode 10 and 11 of season 4. What do you mean? Episode of what? I like my test is because of their viewing experience of the Jedi, how it affects Ahsoka. Yes, I think because that's what that arc does. That's like the purpose of that arc, is like it opens Ahsoka's eyes to the experience on the other side of being a Jedi. And especially, canonically, like she's like literally just left the order for like, I don't know, like a little bit of time. It's been a few weeks, hasn't it? It's been a few weeks since she left the order when we see her in Marta's sister's arc. So I think it does well to teach her something. The Droid Spa is iconic. It's such a good episode. They explained it so well of why was it so important. It's cool. Mortis and Umbara are my faves. Yeah, they're a classic. Of movies, yeah, sure. Sure. Season 5 is another favorite. That's another season where I kind of forget everything that happens in it. What the hell happens in season 5? Can anyone think of arcs that happen in season 5? can't think of anything. It's pretty two-part of the Star Wars Galaxy. I'm happy for more Omega in season 3. Yeah, actually, you know what? That's something I'm excited to do. Is like as the new year turns around, we'll talk about all the upcoming projects whenever they will be coming out. Bad Batch, I'm excited for. I want to get that hype for Bad Batch season 3 going because I think it's going to be a really good story. I think we're going to get a good story in season 3. Oh, the Citadel. The Citadel in episode 5. Why do I always think that was in season 3? And it wasn't because we just watched it. Oh, the wrong Jedi. Of course, yeah, of course. Mortis can be on Mandal. Oh yes. Oh my god. The creepy doctor from season 3 of Mando is supposed to be in the new season of Bad Batch. Creepy doctor. Oh, Dr. Pershing? That guy? Yeah, but they could have done the arc better. The third episode of Analysis arc ended right back where they end up in the previous episode in 12 episodes. I was not okay with it. Yeah, fair enough. I gotta rewatch that though. I'm sure there's a reason. Well, that's just to YouTube. They could have been like more. They did. That's so funny. That's just to you. I like them. I thought they were so good. I thought they were like so fun. What was the other one? Was that Rafa? Yeah, Rafa's the other one. I thought she was so good. So characterized. It's such a meme. Actually, they carried back half the show for me. He's the main reason I was tuning in. Yeah, he was very good in the later seasons. I don't want to watch Bad Batch season 3. If they're all gonna die, losing tech was hard enough. Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting how it's gonna end. It's gonna be a fascinating end of the season. I can't wait to, because Ahsoka was the first show we had done proper watch parties for. So I mean, watch parties for Bad Batch and all upcoming shows. It's gonna be epic. It's gonna be so fun. You don't reckon? You don't think he's dead? Ooh, imagine. I think he is. They were Def Twin Jedi in season 7. That was season 6. They were the lost episodes or whatever, lost arc or whatever. Yeah, there's Twin Jedi, and then one of the clones, Chip. Well, that's the 5's arc. Yeah, that's the 5's arc because then one of the clones, Twigs. Who was it? Was it? I forget who it was. Cutup? Tup. No, it's Tup. That's what. Yeah, Tup's chip malfunctioning. He killed one of them. That's right. Okay, but how are twins allowed? I mean, how are they not allowed? What do you mean? Thank you, True Heart. Damn it. That's fine. You reckon? That'd be actually really interesting. Because that's how they found Echo. Maybe that's how Tech ends up. Oh. That'd be crazy. Just one of them things, what works for one person doesn't work for another. That's true. If they kill Echo, I'm going to be pissed. He's the last of the Domino squad. Yeah. But I mean, like, it's that annoying thing of like, well, we don't see them anything after this. But maybe they could just leave that. Maybe they do just kind of retire. They're off somewhere doing something else for the rest of their lives. Maybe they do all survive and they're all fine. But then that kind of feels like that won't happen. You reckon? I haven't heard that theory before. It's like, oh, he could have the same treatment as Echo. That'd be kind of crazy. People thought Gandalf was dead too. True. I struggle to get into the Bad Batch. Yeah, it is different. It's a very different tone to Clone Wars. Obviously, a lot of similarities, but I think there's a lot of differences with Bad Batch. So I think a lot of Clone Wars fans maybe headed into Bad Batch thinking of it like, okay, this is Bad Batch season 8. Sorry, Clone Wars season 8. But it is quite different. It is quite a different show. In season 2, to be fair, season 2, I had quite, I don't know, not problems, but I'm like, yeah, I didn't love things about season 2. I didn't love certain episodes. Welcome back. Yeah. Just leave it open-ended. Tap peacefully to Alderaan. That's shocking. But that would be a very interesting, like, imagine that. That's kind of a fun, not fun, but would be an interesting way to end them. Things I like about season 7. For the weeks for me, a good ending. It was weird how short it was. It could have been probably another arc longer, to be honest. That was classic. That's a classic. Oh, yeah. I would say first. I would say... Oh, actually, in all of Star Wars, that's probably second for me. Definitely have a rewatch. Maybe, I mean, we don't know when season 3 is going to come out. Hopefully in the early part of the year. I think it might be our fall, our autumn, which would be your spring. So I reckon spring next year is when it's going to come out. Yeah, I know. That was probably the wrong use of wording, right? Yes, I didn't love a lot of the things of season 2, to be honest. I think Omega will. I think Omega will die. Ooh, that's kind of crazy. Omega, there we go. Omega Snoke. Omega definitely gets lost in the Star Destroyer. Put it down now. That's what happens. Eats too much raw oatmeal. What is this? What are these theories, dude? Samora really didn't like season 2. Didn't even make it through. It ended pretty good. The last few episodes were pretty good. There's a lot of in the mid-range where I really didn't love. That episode with the bloody soup kid. They work for soup or something. Didn't love. Didn't vibe with that soup kid episode. Didn't like that. Didn't like that. But anyway, this has been a good discussion. But I have more prep for tomorrow going on. If you didn't know, make sure you put it in your calendars. We have tomorrow night our Halloween special happening here, same time, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be doing some taste testing. I am having some struggles, though, at the moment, trying to pin down a bloody pumpkin, because as I said, Australia, not so big on the Halloween stuff. So I've spent days at multiple different shops trying to find a pumpkin to bloody carve on this show, and it is proving to be very difficult. So my quest continues today to find a bloody pumpkin to carve on this show. But hopefully that happens. But regardless, it's going to be an amazing time. It's going to be super fun. We're having some member call-ins, showing us their Halloween costumes. It's going to be a great show. You don't want to miss, if you've only got 5 minutes free tomorrow, you do not want to miss the reveal of my Halloween costume tomorrow night. So if you've only got 5, tune into the first 5. I promise you, I hope you will be impressed. I hope you will be impressed. Cut one out of paper? What? She's at work. She's a working woman. I have a made-up job, but she works a real job though. Get your merch, you betcha. Sage got his today. Keeping him warm for the winter months. That link is down below if you want to grab some merch. It should be on the video. It should be on the live stream, but there is a link down below if you want to check out the merch as well. The different products there. But this was super fun. Season 3 under the belt. We'll be continuing on with Season 4 next week. LeBron James. Yeah. Oh, amazing. I always forget to check those. I will. I'll check that out. That already happened? What already happened? True. Yeah, exactly. Right? You'll be thrown. Wait, that already happened. That's so crazy that that's already happened. It's like, oh, it can't be that. It's already happened. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. She'll have to bail us all out once we all, I don't know. What's something criminal we would all do? But yeah, 100%. She'll be a joint Rayside community lawyer. 100%. Could be a witch. Could have got like a big hat. You know what? I could have been a witch. That'd have been so smart. That's very Halloween. Damn it. That's so good. Selfies taken, selfies approved for the thumbnail. Yeah, pretty much. 100%. Oh, I love it. Yeah. From going streaking at Raycon. Yeah. She'll have to come bail us out. I love it. All right, gang. I'll see you here tomorrow night. You don't want to miss it. We've got some members calling in. We'll have some fun. And I hope you goddamn love my costume. Because me and Ray Mum have been working hard on it. When I say me and Ray Mum, it's mostly just Ray Mum working hard on it. And I'm just kind of describing what I need. So hopefully it works out. It's going to be a good time. I'll see you back here tomorrow night. Have a good rest of the night. And make sure you always choose the race side. How are you all still here? There's 24 of you still here. Why are you? What are you waiting for? What's gonna happen? What are you waiting for? What are you thinking you're gonna see? There's nothing happening. It's the end of the show. Get out of here. You're still here. Go home. Tron's broken down. He crashed into the stream. You gotta wait for the end of the song. This is the real start. Yeah, this is where it gets good. This is where it starts. See. Alright, all together now.